And welcome to another edition of That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. Today we're going to be talking with Trey Steinhoff. He is a board member for the Tampa Bay Hackathon. And so this upcoming event being held here in Tampa on the weekend of the 25th. And so Trey, welcome into the program today.
Thanks for having me again.
So the Hackathon, what is this Hackathon? I think a Hackathon, I think of stealing things. But what is the Hackathon?
Right, the hack tends to have that negative connotation to it. But the Hackathon is for developers and designers and technology folks to come together and build solutions. This particular hackathon, there's many hackathons out there, but this particular hackathon is to solve problems of local companies, specifically in the hospitality industry. So, restaurants, bars, cruise liners, hotels, etc. We found that there's a massive population of hospitality folks. There's 154,000 people employed in hospitality in Tampa Bay. And so we wanted to figure out a way to merge that group with the technology group, the technology community.
Okay, and so the hackathon then, again, the weekend of the 25th here in Tampa Bay, then the people in the hospitality industry, they present their problems and their challenges, and then the people that are on the technology side of the business then listens to these challenges, and then over the course of the weekend, they are going to present some type of solution. Am I correct?
Exactly right, yeah,
okay.
Nailed it.
All right, and so this could be like a website, I guess, maybe an order-taking situation,
right.
Maybe just different things that are solving the problems.
Right, so yeah, a little bit away from like website development kind of stuff, and more like building something that's maybe a little novel. Mm-hmm. So for example, we're working with a hospitality company called Salt Block Catering, and they're kind of a full service catering and event management kind of a business. So they can help you source your location and your staff and all of the materials you're going to need and provide the food as well. And so they've said to us that their sales reps spend about 70% of their time just vetting clients. Just everybody, has their own particulars about their events. Mm-hmm. They have certain dietary needs. They have certain needs for the venue. They have a certain budget. And so what they want is some kind of custom-made application, whether it's like a mobile application or a website enhancement kind of feature.
And that's all the rave these days, right? The mobile applications.
Right,
is that usually what is coming out of these hackathons today, an app?
It really depends. So for a hospitality group, something that's very mobile, mm-hmm. and you're always going to be dealing with your customers while you're on the run, while they're on the run, a mobile app kind of makes sense, right? Somewhere where you can come in, vet out any of the price discrepancies you might have, make a custom proposal, really experience the brand in a way that's representative of what Salt Block is and who they believe they are. So it's a sales tool, it's an ordering tool. These are kind of the guidelines that we're going to give the hackers, right, the developers, the technologists, right. And they're going to kind of have the creative freedom to build what they think will be really cool that will also help them solve that challenge.
And this is over a course of a 3-day weekend, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday.
That's right.
Take me through the different days and what happens on each day.
Absolutely. So Friday night, people are going to show up probably about 6 o'clock, so all those working folks can kind of
Where are they showing up to?
Oh, so Station House and Iron Yard in St. Petersburg.
Okay.
Station House is a big old co-working space. They're getting ready to open up a restaurant on the bottom floor, and they also are an event space. And then Iron Yard is a code school. Okay. And Iron Yard's going to be hosting their last hackathon. It's our hackathon. And they're a code school nationally, but the national organization kind of shut down. So this is kind of a big moment for Tampa Bay technologists that have been like celebrating this coding space for so long, and now we're going to have to find a new hub, right? And so this hackathon's going to be the last one there. So you're going to show up in Iron Yard at Station House Friday at about 6. At about 7, we'll kick off our keynote, and then we'll have our companies give an overview of their challenge. Okay. After that, teams are going to have heard the challenge, or individuals are going to have heard the challenge. They'll form their teams. They'll pick which challenge they want to pursue, because we're going to have 3, maybe 4. And then they're going to have breakout sessions with those companies where they're going to learn all the details, right? It is a particular company with a particular process, and they got to kind of go over that. So then all of the technologists will gather the information they need, the data sets, the API access, really learn more about the business and the challenge. And then for the next 3 days, they're going to be building. And so,
It seems like a quick turnaround for a technology solution, correct? I mean, is it common that people finish the application?
Yeah, I would say it's pretty common. So it's not going to be as sophisticated as like a fully built out CRM or anything. But for these challenges, we want them to build something actionable, something that will be useful. And it's well within the scope of 3 days for people to do that, especially talented developers.
And how many different hackers are participating in the event?
We're aiming for 100, and we're well on track to get people to get to that number. these events, people tend to buy all the tickets in the last 2 weeks,
Right.
and given all the events we've done in the past, we're right on track to hit that. So.
But I mean, the 100 hackers, are they, then they're divided up into teams, or how
Right.
many different teams are participating in the hack from the technology side?
Yeah, it's a good question. We're going to kind of leave that up to them. We're not going to enforce people to be on teams or enforce people to solve a particular challenge. They're there on their own fruition. They're going to pay $20 to come there. They're going to get a lot of benefit
Right.
for it, which we'll talk about. But we're not going to tell them what team they can be on or what challenge they have to solve. We're going to let them make that choice.
So where the idea, I heard you mention other cities, and so this is something that other cities do. Tell me a little bit about Hackathon.
Sure. So hackathons in general, as a concept, not a brand, happen all over the country and all over the world. Really, the idea is people get together and just work together and collaborate and build. It's kind of a safe environment for people to experiment and use their technology skills to make really cool things. Some of it's for specific causes, some of it is for students of a certain skill level, some of it's at a very specific high level, like IBM will host a hackathon. For Tampa Bay Hackathon, what we wanted to do is figure out a way to bring that concept to local businesses and to the development community here, so we could kind of merge together as many people as we could to incite that collaboration, because we believe that that's going to drive us forward, really.
And so the benefit to the hospitality company is that they get a new idea, a new look, a new set of eyes on their product. What's the benefit to the technology company? Are they hoping that, after they present their idea, that the hospitality company will hire them for service? I mean, how does it work from their standpoint?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So, hiring for them service is definitely an option, right? We're not going to enforce anything about intellectual property or anything like that. We're going to leave that up to the developers and the hospitality companies. But the benefit to them, yes, they could leave with a company. They could leave with beta customers. But the more immediate benefit for a developer that probably has a full-time job, given that they're a talented developer, there's a $3,000 cash prize from our sponsor SourceToad. No strings attached. You win, you get $3,000. We're going to be feeding you all weekend, right? So you're going to have 7 meals taken care of. You're going to get all kinds of drinks and coffee and caffeine, and t-shirts and swag. And so it's going to be a fun, collaborative environment with a lot of talented people. And hopefully they're going to be learning a lot too, meeting a lot of people that are going to help them learn new skills, and they'll kind of get to flex their creative muscles. So hackathons are something that most developers that I've met really enjoy doing. And I hope that we're setting up an environment that they have a lot of fun.
No, it sounds
in.
fun. I just can't imagine putting together a technology solution in a matter of really 2 days. I mean, Friday night, you're just going to be talking about it, and then Saturday, and then Sunday is the day. It reminds me of those Project Runway shows where you got to design this wedding dress within 8 hours. How do you do that and everything? And technology being in that same boat in terms of stress and getting it completed. Now, you mentioned your sponsors. Talk a little bit about them. SourceToad. Tell me a little bit about SourceToad.
Sure. SourceToad is a development shop, right? So they build applications, mobile applications, web applications. They manage a huge portfolio of cruise liners. That's one of their key customers. And we've got one of the biggest brands in Europe that is underneath their portfolio. And so their challenge that they're going to provide is a massive data set of cruise data about fuel consumption, locations, passenger data, et cetera. And we're going to kind of give the developers an open-ended challenge, whereas Saltblock's challenge is, we've got this specific problem. SourceToad's challenge is going to be, we've got all of this data that we know can be useful, and we want you to have the creative freedom to make it useful. And so it's a really awesome concept, and I think a lot of people are going to be drawn to that because they can be really creative about it.
And is this an annual event now, or is this the first time in Tampa Bay? Tell me about the history.
Yeah, so this is the first time we're doing a hackathon specifically, but Startup Tampa Bay is our 501c3. And it hosts Startup Weekend, which we've talked about before on the show, Startup Week, which is a week-long event in February that you might have come to. I know we've had a huge showing for the last 3 years. It's really great to see all the people that we've impacted. Socials and workshops, we do all kinds of little events throughout the year. But this is the first hackathon, and we really wanted to do it because we wanted to make an event specifically for developers, specifically for those technology folks, whereas some of our other events kind of capture a broader audience of technology, entrepreneurship, students, people that already have businesses, that kind of thing.
And technology is all the rave right now, Tampa also being a hub of entrepreneurship. How's the response been from the technology community for giving them this opportunity?
It's been great. It's been great. We've made a lot of partners in the tech community. A lot of software companies are helping us spread the word, sending out different developers. Tampa Bay Technology Forum, Daniel James Scott has been a huge help, helping us get the word out. We've really had a great response. That's the really cool thing about Tampa. You feel like you're one connection away from most people, and most people are really supportive when you're nonprofit trying to do something pretty great for the community. And so it's been awesome to see how many people have gotten involved.
Now, do you plan to do it again next year, or are you waiting for the results of this year? I mean, how can people that are listening get involved for next year, for instance?
Right. Yeah, we definitely want to do it next year. I'm excited to see how everything turns out on the 25th here. I have a hunch it's going to be great. We're thinking about, targeting different industries, right? So hospitality industry for the first one. We've had someone reach out who wanted to do an education-specific hackathon. We've had people that wanted to do a brewery-specific and all kinds of different niches, maybe even a nonprofit one. So we hack for nonprofits,
right,
which seems pretty, altruistically good to do, right? And so we're thinking about expanding in that way. And next year, I'd imagine it happen around the same time. We kind of have a cycle of events that we run through, and you can go to tampabayhackathon.com, and that would give you most of the information. On social media, we're Tampa Bay Hackathon. And then, we have Startup Weekend coming up as well, and you can find us Startup Weekend Tampa on Facebook, and Startup Tampa Bay, or Startup Tampa on Twitter, I think.
And again, this event going on the weekend of the 25th in Tampa, Florida. Again, TampaBayHackathon.com for more information and for tickets. Again, Trey Steinhoff in studio with me, board member of the Hackathon. Also, they're talking about their 501c3 startup weekend, and we'll talk about that a little bit more when we come back from the break, and also just kind of get a feel for what's going on with the millennials and the entrepreneurs in the tech community. And again, it's a budding community here in Tampa Bay, and you've heard me talk about that a lot on the program. So hear from a millennial when we come back from the break on That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. We're back to That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business. My guest today, Trey Steinhoff, board member of the Tampa Bay Hackathon, the event coming up this the weekend of the 25th of August, 2017. It's going to pair technology providers with hospitality providers in an effort to solve solutions that the hospitality industry is facing. And so over the course of the 3-day weekend, the hospitality providers will then provide their problem, and the technology people will provide their solutions. Learn more at tampabayhackathon.com. And again, this event going on over in St. Petersburg. Tickets available for the 3-day weekend. What are some of the benefits that attendees are going to get from attending?
Right. So obviously, there's in my mind, from all of these events, there's an intrinsic benefit in coming and having a lot of fun and being with a lot of really talented and motivated people. That's something that's almost hard to prescribe like a value to, right? But outside of that, something more tangible, there's $3,000 prize available. We're going to have Google, who's sponsoring Chromebooks. We're going to have a bunch of different gift cards for all kinds of different local restaurants and hospitality groups. Lots of swag, t-shirts, 7 meals included with your ticket.
Right.
We're going to have hopefully some brewery sponsors here soon. We're having some conversations today about that. And so expect to have a lot of free stuff thrown at you along the way.
Now, this is, again, part of your startup weekend, your 501c3. You're a young individual. Where did you get the inspiration to start a nonprofit?
Right. Yeah. So honestly, the inspiration came because I was affected personally by these kinds of events. When I was in school, I'd never heard of entrepreneurship. No one had ever really exposed me to technology concepts. It was something my high school totally missed, and I didn't discover until late in my college degree. And I attended a Startup Weekend, which is kind of a global event, and Startup Weekend kind of changed the course of my life. It's something that is, like I said, very powerful. You go there and you're surrounded by all of these motivated people that are driving to provide value and collaborating, and it's pretty inspiring. And that kind of set me off on my journey through entrepreneurship, and it gave me so many opportunities. I started working for The Wave, which is a co-working and incubator program downtown. I got jobs at startup companies, and that was such a positive experience for me that I felt I wanted to give it back. So that's
Startup Weekend. What goes on during a Startup Weekend?
Yeah, so Startup Weekend is kind of like the Hackathon, right? 3 days, get together, meet some co-founders and build. But the difference is you pitch your own idea. So for the Hackathon, you're going to have some hospitality companies from the community ask you to solve problems they're facing. With Startup Weekend, you kind of have more creative freedom. So I could come in and I could say, I'd like to start my own company, and we're going to do cookie delivering services, and we're going to have a really slick app that makes it better than everything else, right? And so if I find, 10 people at Startup Weekend that really like that idea, they'll jump on my team. Hopefully I've got a developer in there. Hopefully I've got a marketing person, a salesperson, et cetera. And then you build that idea over the course of the weekend, like from the ground up, right? Minimum viable products, business model canvas, you're doing customer validation, you're maybe even closing some sales. Like, it's not surprising to have people with money on stage on Sunday when they're pitching. And so, that's kind of the big difference, and that's what it's all about.
Now, you said you didn't discover entrepreneurship until you're in college, University of South Florida, and I really didn't discover entrepreneurship until probably about last 10 years ago. It's really a growing movement. What are you seeing as a young millennial in just terms of entrepreneurship around Tampa Bay?
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a really attractive idea for a lot of millennials, right? I think that millennials are all about, living like meaningful lives and making an impact, not getting stuck in kind of like a 9-to-5 grind, right? I think millennials are impatient too. And so I would say, as much as I don't like making blanket statements, everybody's an individual really, but I'd say most millennials are people my age, and a lot of people that are in college in Tampa Bay today are drawn to entrepreneurship because of the freedom and the pace and the impact that they can make in their own lives. Some people are profit driven, and entrepreneurship has the biggest risk but the highest reward. Right. So a lot of people are motivated by that. Not me personally, but I think for millennials that have seen the struggle of a lot of their parents, like working for 40 years in the same job, going.
Do you have a different mindset? Because, and I was kind of caught a little bit in the transition, but now it's full on. The generation that raised me, they were career people.
Sure.
They went to school, they came out, and they worked 40 years.
Sure.
Millennials don't think that way. They come out of their job or out of school, and they're thinking, I'm going to stay here for a while, go here. Is that what you see amongst your own peers?
I do, and I think there's a lot of numbers out there to support that. Like, I read a study recently that you advance faster in your career if you bounce back and forth. You do 1 or 2 years at a company, and then you make a bigger leap as opposed to the slow climb, right? And so I think that millennials are more predisposed to information about career growth than they ever have been before, and they're more well armed with education, whether it's a formal education or informal online, to go out and do the things that they want to do and try to pursue their passions, figure out a way to make money from it.
Now, you say you didn't discover entrepreneurship until later in college. What did you go to college originally to study?
Yeah, so I went into college undecided, which, that's a whole nother discussion about whether or not, our education system is set up to take in all of these very young people and kind of ask them to pick a course for a very long time. That's a little flawed in my mind, but I managed to find my way to economics, right? I've always been kind of a scientifically minded person, and I wasn't quite sure that I really wanted to dive down like a chemistry major or anything like that, and I picked something a little bit more practical and a business major, and so I did business and economics paired together. And when I was a junior, I took a class called Creativity and Innovation Entrepreneurship. It was one of the first times that it had ever been offered at USF. A couple like really inspiring people decided to teach it. And that kind of exposed me to what was out there. And around the same time is when I went to Startup Weekend, and that just solidified it. It was like, okay, this is the thing that I'm interested in. If I'm going to do business at all, I'm going to figure out a way to do it for startup companies, and I'm going to figure out a way to do it for myself.
I wish our culture would, adjust in the fact that when you're age 18, a lot of us aren't ready for college. And I know I went to college, I attended Florida Southern. I was a chemistry and biology major. I ended up dropping out 2 years later because it wasn't a fit for me because I was changing at the time. And I'd really like to see more people, go from high school into just some type of a job. And it's really, I didn't really figure myself out until my mid-20s.
Right.
And I went back to school and went to USF and graduated with a degree in finance.
Right.
But I just don't believe that at age 18 we really know what we want to do because we hadn't experienced life.
I agree. I think you could accredit that to a lot of maybe some failings in high school education, and also maybe just a cultural norm. A lot of people's parents want the best for their kids, and they say, all right, what's the next step? What's the next box to check? Oh, send them to university, right? And let's invest $40,000 to have them figure it out there. It does seem a little inefficient, right? And it's hard to ask a lot of 18-year-olds to make that decision when they have so much learning to do. I completely agree.
Yeah, absolutely. And it was a big mistake in my life, and something had I known who I was, I wouldn't have went to college right at age of 18. Again, it took me about 5 or 6 years and I often joke when I've always been a scientific and somebody who enjoys that type of mentality. And when I was in senior in high school, a lot of my friends were going to school for business, and I laughed at them. I was like, business degree, that's an easy degree.
Right.
I'm going to get a chemistry degree. I'm gonna be a smart person.
Yeah, I felt the same way, and I feel like economics was the compromise there. Yeah.
Then I started to learn how the world really works. I was like, chemistry degree and make what 30 or 40,000. That's not very good. And I see all these guys out there in business making six figures, and my mindset started to change and everything. So, and then I go back to school for a degree in finance. So, nonetheless, we live and learn.
Yep. Yeah.
So let's circle back around. Got a few minutes left. The Tampa Bay Hackathon again going on this weekend or next weekend, which is the weekend of the 25th in Tampa Bay. Where do you see your company going? You got Startup Weekend, you got a Hackathon. What other events are under this umbrella?
Yeah, that's a good question. So obviously Startup Weekend and the Hackathon are big ones. Startup Week is our biggest. It's 5 days long in February, and it's kind of a community-driven celebration of entrepreneurship and technology and really most anything. We host 75 events in a week, everything from craft brewing to marketing to tech to whatever it might be, right? It's kind of up to the community. So those are all big events for us, and we're hosting some smaller ones along the way. I think our next move is to try to figure out how we can be more of a resource year-round for people. That's kind of something that we're toying around with right now, and maybe figure out a way where we can provide a platform for individuals to learn about entrepreneurship online, point them to the direction of all the other resources that are out there, because by no means are we the only organization that helps people with entrepreneurship or technology in Tampa Bay. There's a ton of great people out there doing great work, and I'd like to see our platform be almost the open source solution for people to learn about entrepreneurship here and figure out how they can get involved.
Now, you mentioned the Wave as a resource in technology. Any other resources or people that are helping out with the Hackathon that you'd like to give a mention to?
I want to shout out the Iron Yard again. Thanks so much for hosting the event. It's a shame that the national branch decided to shut down, because the St. Pete branch was one of the most successful that we had. So I'm excited to see what that group of people manages to do after the Iron Yard ends. I want to thank all of our sponsors. So I mentioned Source Toad and Salt Block, Chichio's Restaurant Group, CRG, so Fresh Kitchen, Chichio Cali, Chichio Waters, they've got 13 restaurants now. They're going to be another one of our challenge partners. Fit Life Foods, we're potentially going to have as a challenge partner. We're going to work out those details here in the next couple days, but they're providing food. All the people I've mentioned are providing some incredible food throughout the weekend, so big shout out to them. Blind Tiger for coffee, Google Cloud for prizes. Full Stack Talent is a talent placement firm that is specifically for technologists, and they're going to be helping out a lot, providing swag, spreading the word. Visit Tampa Bay, Women Who Code, Tampa Bay Technology Forum. Oh man, I'm sure I'm forgetting some people here. Marka Prince for helping us with our T-shirts, and let's see. I know I'm forgetting someone, but I'll thank you at the Hackathon.
Well, it sounds like you got a full event nonetheless and everything, and so just another great event going on here in Tampa Bay. The weekend of the 25th, 2017, the Tampa Bay Hackathon. Pick up tickets and learn more, tampabayhackathon.com. Trey Steinhoff, board member of the event, thank you so much for being in studio with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And again, tampabayhackathon.com for more information. New episodes of this program air weekday mornings, 9 a.m. on thatbusinessnetwork.com. And if you'd like to come onto the program, visit tbsinterview.com for more information. Please connect with us on social media, facebook.com/thatbusinessshow. Also on Twitter @thatbizshow. And you can easily find our YouTube channel by going to thatyoutubechannel.com. You've been listening to That Business Show 2.0 with your host, Jamie Maloney, where business becomes show business.